Welcome to Will It Work? I am Kevin. Today we're looking at the Telegames Personal Arcade, which is also known as, I don't know if it's pronounced Dina or Dina. It's D-I-N-A. And Telegames essentially sold this in North America. I don't know if there is a Japanese equivalent, but I'll look that up in the show notes. It's probably got a Wikipedia page. The interesting thing about this system, and we are going to play it, is that Telegames sold it as a ColecoVision clone. So it was their own branded system, which Telegames was this online sort of resource, I would say. They were a publisher of games. They published, like, say, this PlayStation, Iron Soldier 3. Right down here it says Telegames. And they would also publish games for classic systems that were no longer supported. They did that for many, many years. And they also came out with some simple sort of like poker and blackjack and things like that type of games for like Game Boy Color, possibly Game Boy Advance, I'm not sure. So they were kind of a company that was supporting, you know, the enthusiast market for older things. And they did that for a long time, but I guess they've, you know, moved on from that now, and they're still around. Not quite sure what exactly they're doing. Maybe producing stuff on modern systems, or maybe they're just kind of winding things down. I'm not sure, but they are still around. They no longer sell this, of course, but they did sell this for many years, as far as I recall. And I think a lot of people didn't buy it because it was like, oh, it's just a ColecoVision clone. What do I want to buy a ColecoVision clone for? You know. Understandable, but it's actually more than that. And what's kind of interesting about it is that, you know, while they'll have all of these personal arcade, it's a truly complete home video game system. Arcade style game built right into it. Just turn your console on, plug in any of the large selection of game cartridges available, proven titles by established designers. Activision, Magic, Interface, Zonix, and others are manufactured under exclusive worldwide license by Telegames. Your personal arcade is also compatible with most ColecoVision cartridges, which expands your selection list to over 100 exciting games for all ages and interests. So yeah, they had licenses, and they, you know, sold and packaged up games for this, which also work on, as far as I'm aware, on ColecoVision. But that's not the part that I mean where this gets sort of interesting. So let's take it out of the box here. I think at one time I took this out and played it once, but the box is rough mostly just because it was one of the very earliest things that I had, and it was before I started putting things into tubs and with great care, etc. But it's still pretty much new on the inside. Now, we have a warranty card here. In Texas, Telegames Personal Arcade, etc., with some details about it. You know, hooking it up to your antenna and all that kind of fun stuff. And it lists port number 1, you see here. I can focus this in here. It lists that as an expansion port. Okay? And then number 5, it lists expansion port pause. Do not use with cartridges. That's what it says. And now, if you know what this is all about, well, maybe you've never seen one, or if you have seen one, well, then we're still going to talk about it. Now, I'll tell you what that's all about. Let's take it out of the box here. So as you can see, let me move the rest of this stuff over. That is a really nice looking switch box too. Boy, I tell you, that's the nicest looking switch box I've seen. Not all corroded or anything, because it's newer. Zoom in a little bit further here. So we have basically two cartridge ports, right? We have cartridge A and cartridge B, and they're of different sizes. If you can see, cartridge B is a small port, which is the expansion port, and cartridge A is the larger ColecoVision port. But here's the fun thing. The fun thing is that there's actually an expansion port on the back. This is the actual expansion port that's on the back. What this is a Sega SG-1000 or Sega Mark I cartridge port. This system could play both ColecoVision games and Sega games. Now, why Telegames didn't advertise it is unknown. I don't know what their reasoning was. Maybe it was a licensing thing. Sega was, around, and maybe they were worried that, I don't know, that Sega might be like, hey, you guys are selling an illegal clone system or something. Couldn't say. But it was, not... People said online, they were like, well, Telegames disables that port, so you can't use it. But you totally can. It's not disabled. They didn't do that. They just didn't tell anybody what it was. It's really unusual. Now, I think if you were to purchase this in another version, like as the Dina that might have been sold somewhere else, you would be told that it plays both ColecoVision and Sega games. It does make me wonder if Sega games are using the same hardware for the Mark I as they were ColecoVision hardware. Maybe same graphic chip, same processor type of thing, just with a different ROM set configuration. That might explain a lot as to why Sega was unable to compete against the Nintendo Entertainment System in the early days, because as far as I'm aware, the NES was more powerful than the ColecoVision. So there's the joystick pad. It says joystick on it, but it's not a joystick. It's a game pad. It doesn't even have a little knobby thing on the D-pad that you screw in or whatever to make that work. It's fairly generic. Feels okay though. They're not recessed. This D-pad is certainly not great. But at the same time, it can play with standard, as far as I'm aware, ColecoVision controllers. I did bring one up here. It actually has an overlay in it. I'm not sure what game this overlay is for. What does it say here? It's been in there so long, I don't even know if I can get it out of there. It just says Coleco Industries. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to put another one in there right now. So I can try both. And it did come with two controllers, which was nice, as well as a switch box and cable on the back, which was a RF. Now it does have a video port out, which I imagine is the same sort that Sega used to drive out their composite from their systems, etc. It does not come with that adapter. It does come, though, with a gigantic power brick, which even comes in its own box. It's kind of funny. But this is not unusual. The ColecoVision, if you recall, if you've been watching this series the whole time, when we looked at ColecoVision, I had remarked that, well, that's actually the power plug in the corner over there. That's not video. So it only comes out with TV out. But anyway, I had remarked about how big it was, and they had it so it was hanging off the wall. So whoever designed the Dina here, Personal Arcade system, they at least had the common sense to make it so that the power brick has 2 wires, so this doesn't have to plug into the wall, because it is gigantic. So we will plug that one in. And it's probably, you know, this kind of crazy connector because it probably, I don't know, yeah, it probably does volts, different volts for different things, since there's different systems in here. All right. So what I'm going to do is we're going to use the ColecoVision multi-cart that I have, and we'll check out a few ColecoVision games. This is all dip switch driven, so like the one we did with Atari, we'll try a few random dip switch things to see what we get for fun. It's a little fun exercise we can do together. Oh, and look, yeah, I got these backwards. This one down here is the ColecoVision because it's small. And the one in the back is for the SG-1000. My bad. It's not like I gotta know all these things, guys. Off. I don't know what that means. I'm not even sure which way this goes in. This side back, it says. Okay, well, I hope that's back. Sounded like nothing had ever been plugged in there before. Okay, so I'm going to wire it up and we'll switch over to the video side and we'll see what it looks like. It did say that there's a game built in, so we'll also look at the built-in game and we'll see what that's like. So here we go. Okay, we're here with Telegames Personal Arcade, aka the Dina or Dina. This is the built-in game. Now, I just wanted to mention one thing that's kind of interesting about this as well, is that we have to use the TV tuner. It doesn't have a composite out or any kind of other out. It asked specifically in the instructions that we should have it on channel 13. So that's kind of unusual. If I recall, I think 13 is still in the VHF band, but it's on the far end of it. I think so. I don't know if it only went up to 12. I think it went up to 13. I can't quite remember anymore because I don't have a TV with a knob that I turn. But back in the day, if you're young and you don't remember televisions with knobs, the VHF channels were on one knob and the UHF channels were on another knob. And you usually either had to turn the VHF to a UHF, thing and then start changing the channels with the UHF, or you had to push a button to switch between one or the other. Now you might wonder why it was like this, and I would just point out that the difference between VHF and UHF isn't just the radio signal that was sent out to the televisions or the TV signal, through the air, but also the antenna configuration. VHF was more of a directional antenna, so it would sort of be pointing in like a cone shape towards like a city from the outside. Like the antenna would be outside the city, and then it would aim towards the city in a sort of a cone shape, like if you looked at it, on a map, where UHF was the more, round, sending it outward. So you would have it like on a tall building in the center of town, and then it would send the signal out in all directions. For whatever reason, VHF was always the one that was preferred for the major networks, and UHF was always more of a local service, local channels kind of thing, or public broadcasting and that sort of thing. I don't know why that was. I mentioned this before, but I don't know enough about the technology to know why one was preferred over the other. etc. Eventually, the networks expanded when Fox became one of the fourth major network besides ABC, NBC, and CBS. And a lot of the Fox affiliates ended up being on UHF because most towns only had the 3 on the VHF side. And so, and then there was like contracts and things, and Fox would eventually buy out, one of the people that were broadcasting on the VHF, and channels would have to move, and there was all this kind of stuff going on. It's just nonsense. All right, so we're going to press, let's just try level 1 player. And it looks like some sort of Galaxian clone. I mean, looks like Galaxian. But hey, free Galaxian, that's not bad, right? Better than what a lot of systems give. Though some systems we've looked at had free games and I didn't even know about it. Like the XEGS, when we looked at that. It's not fair that they come up from under you. Oh, I can move up. It's a little bit better in Galaxy, actually. And I can shoot behind myself, too. Ah, how interesting. It's one way to take them out, right? Just ram into them. Alright, we're done with this. Let's look at something else. Let's put the multi-cart in. And we'll just put it on the default. So we'll see what it is right as it's set right now. Meteoric Shower. 1983 Bit Corporation. Oh, that's what we were just playing. Did it not register the game cartridge? That's possible. Yeah, switch a couple of these dip switches around. Let's try it. Yeah. Activision presents Zenji by Matthew Hubbard. Copyright 1984. Zenji. I think I may have played this once in my life. Turn the maze green by connecting paths to the source. Alright. Let's see if we can start the game. Oh, it's game 1. It has this big pause button. It's like, don't use that when there's cartridge inserted. Okay, game 1. I just reset it. There we go. Oh, you know what this is? This is there's a game for ColecoVision based on the movie 2010. And you have to do something very similar to this. Alright, we get the idea. This is just kind of like a puzzle game. Let's kill it again. Let's try a different dip switch. I don't know what that is. Space Invasion, 1998. So this is a later game. So we'll do normal invasion. Space Invaders clone. Well, was always sort of impressed with the ColecoVision versus the 2600. They had a much nicer graphics on the ColecoVision. It was a shame it didn't do better. It really, you know, it had Nintendo games, it had Sega games, it had a lot of, you know, it had Activision, it had third-party support. It just didn't have Atari, basically. And it just had the unfortunate timing of coming out during the game collapse. And the thing is that it would have done really well otherwise, because and I can't even see my shot. Nice bug in this game. We're done with that. Because the 5200 had crappy controllers. And game players would have been like, well, this sucks. Plus, as we know, gamers wanted to play the things that were in the arcade. And they wanted to, you know, how long would it have taken for Nintendo to have released, like, Super Mario Brothers or whatever, or Mario Brothers, anyway, on, what's the Sierra Online? 1983, Threshold, wow. This is another one of these. Basically like the game I just played. Like a version of Dina attack or something. You know, and then if Super Mario would have been out for the Coleco, it would have been can't believe that they make it so the laser overheats. That is the stupidest thing. Now you get different stuff. It's like Megalomania. You know, and then Coleco might have been like a powerhouse at that point in video gaming. It just wasn't to be, you know. I mean, of course, Nintendo may have planned it all along to release their own game system and not license things out to other people. But there's no guarantee that if, you know, it would have been as successful had they had competition, because due to the game crash, everybody else was kind of out of it, and Nintendo, you know, they kind of breathed new life into it. It's really weird in a way, because maybe it's just because of flashy ads or something, but I was always one of those people, like, when I was playing games, I was always like, I don't think that the NES is any better than my Commodore 64, which I don't think it really was. They both could play basically the same game. So I was always like, still in the world of computers, and I was like, Exidy's Vampire, 1986. I was always of the mind, well, you know, why would I want to play that when I can get free games on the PC, you know? Oh, this is like Venture. Can't remember if you can touch the walls or not. Like Berserk. Oh. Yeah, you just have to collect the treasure. It's basically like Venture. And, you know, again, I mentioned this in the past, what I didn't really understand is that gamers wanted to play the arcade games that Nintendo was offering. And, of course, the slick advertising that was going on for a lot of these games in magazines and television and things like that. And so, a Magic Wing War. You gotta push the button to fly. think it's like something like I got to get these eggs or something. There's like an egg down there. Or maybe I got to destroy the egg? Something like that. It's almost like Defender, I think. I think things are trying to steal my eggs, and I have to, like, prevent that from happening. But it was still like, you know, the NES was not all that powerful, and Sega recognized that, and that's kind of why they were doing their Master System thing, because they felt that it was what is this game even doing? This is craziness. Pick that up. What is that? I can't. Oh, now I've got it. What am I supposed to do with it? Take it somewhere? Gonna take the magic globe and I'm gonna fly away with it. I know. I shouldn't be singing. Magic globe. Gonna bounce off the ground 'cause I'm a dragon. There's another one. Hello, but I'm gonna keep going with this one. I like it more. There's a double-headed dragon down there. I'll drop this in the pit. Shall I? No. Don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. Oh, screen's going crazy on that board. Couldn't handle those extreme graphics that it was getting Woo! I mean, it's all, history is what history is, right? Like, we know that Nintendo was number one, it won the day, but eventually Sony came along and it's like, we can do this too. Alright, anyway, we've looked at some Coleco games and some weird stuff here. I'm going to wrap it up. Telegames Personal Arcade, also the Dina. I do not have a SG-1000 cartridge, Mark I cartridge to put in here. If I did, I would try it out, but I don't own one. Maybe one day I will. But it works. It's a keeper, even with this shaky screen. So we'll keep it. Thanks for watching. See what's up for next time.